Computer. Lights.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So I don't know whether we'll have Pepper here. We might. I don't know whether we'll have Colton here. We might. Anything could happen. But I'm going to work on the bridge. So that's what we're doing today. Is we're working on the bridge. Bridge working, the bridge working. That's what we're doing. The bridge working. Because we finished everything we needed to finish on this, except the back shells and stuff like that. So we're pretty much done. So we're going to do all of that. So here we go. Let's get to cracking. Cracking. Alrighty, we are here on the bridge set. I'm noticing, I don't know if I like this divot though, real quick here. This divot. I feel like it should be a divot all the way around, because otherwise it just looks like it gets smashed here or something. I don't know. Oh no. Should it be like so? I think it should be like so. There we go. It made it look a little less like it just got smacked hard. Good morning, Brent. You're out on Twitch, though. Noticing. I mean, not like there's anything wrong with that. You can certainly be out on Twitch if you wish. Now, one thing I am kind of pondering is this is a good 3 meters, right? So a normal human stands to about here-ish, give or take. There's a lot of room to this upper deck. I'm kind of wondering whether I shouldn't drop the ceiling just a little bit there. Oh, that's fair. This is a far better place for you to be anyway. You can be here with me hanging. So yeah, like I was saying, I kind of pondering the idea of dropping that upper deck just a little bit, because that's a good 3 meters to the top, right? So if we look at this from this side, these boxes are a meter, right? There's a lot of message thingies going on here. My wife just walked out the door, so no, I really don't think I do, but that's a good question. So okay. So that's actually a horribly good question. Is 3 meters a standard deck? Because, but I mean, well, and it may be. Here I'm noticing though, this header piece up here comes down below the 3 meter line on the upper deck, and the deck comes up above the 3 meter line, which means that no matter what, the second deck of the bridge here is above the 3 meter line or is shorter. So that second deck is tiny and the bottom deck is huge. And I think, really honestly, although, I mean, thinking about this, I feel like, here's the door entering into this back deck area. Yeah, the Packlids and their hats. My hat's not big enough to talk about this. It's funny. He made the Packlids ridiculous, but he actually added a whole bunch of interesting and different lore to them. Okay, so I'm just dropping that down a little because it does, the wall comes up at the back here. It really shouldn't. It should just kind of be down like a normal person here. This guy needs to just come out a little because he's way too involved in there. There we go. It's important for us to remember to keep the structure of this as relatively smooth as we can. And the reason is because these aren't horribly complex models. And so, because I'm not, the models don't mean that much in the grand scheme of things, because I don't usually shade them. I don't use any shading or anything like that in the computer. So because of that, I'm not that worried about a high resolution, super smooth shell. We only need it to be roughly the right size. But we do have to remember that sometimes I'll draw a line and you'll be able to see the line being jaggedy because everything kind of went like this in the mesh. So at least making the mesh somewhat straight is good for this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least getting most of the real bad wrinkles out of it is important. But that's the reason why things like the kitty wake they're not a high resolution model. It doesn't need to be for the purposes of this. So when we make a printable version of the kitty wake, we're gonna have to just go back to the model and add more things. Yeah, he did build up their backstory. I love that. I such a ridiculous backstory too. And it's beautiful. And so we're really just wanting to look mostly at the inside, and we just want to make sure it's not pinched anywhere. Is really what we're looking for. It's just pinched pieces of the shell. Kind of feel like if we're doing this, kind of want to put this guy forward more like there. Sort of like this. Because I really think that more importantly is matching this strut than it is putting the outer shell lines so that it won't pinch, just like we were just talking about. But that should be a much better fit for the strut. For one, let's go in here and like line it up correctly because we now have screwed up all of the alignment. But I feel like putting this strut in like this is very hard to see what we're doing, isn't it? That's probably a better choice in the long run. Even though this is kind of making a mess of everything here. I'm going to bring this guy forward now to about here-ish. Sort of split the difference. Now we've made everything crazy. But from the top view, we can see it a lot better as to how smooth it's going up or down. And like this one's not quite so smooth, so we need to kind of just loosen it up a little. And then back here, everything just went haywire. It was fine. Well, but it looks like everything was pretty haywire to begin with on this particular one. Not very smooth at all. Like, I'm not even really sure. This should be flat against this back wall. There we go, like that. Also true. This upper floor, they're going to be standing. So, you've got a good solid point there. Or sitting at these two consoles, or three consoles, I guess. There probably is a third. I'll move this around to, I don't know, there. You know what? I'm just going to push this all the way back because really what needs to happen is this guy needs to be here. We'll just stretch it out. Because it's not critical. I mean, like I said, we just don't want it to be pinched. As long as it's not pinched, we're good. And by pinched, I don't mean stolen. So bring this down just a little. Ha, I made a British joke. Okay. See, that's pinched. I'm like, hey, I don't want it to be pinched. Just like that. Yeah, that's pinched. That's pinched. There we go. This is going to be hard. This geometry back here is going to be rough, no matter which way we deal with it. Well, and I absolutely agree, but we also have 5 races, right? So we've got the little like 3-footed silicon creatures that are in here. We've got the Jessine, which are the things that look like jellyfish. We've got the humans. We've got the Najor, which are the ones that are really just big amoebas, and they wear uniforms because they think it's funny. We've got the Volmar, which are, space creatures and stuff like that. So we've got like a number of creatures that are in here that do different things. So, sitting may not necessarily, not all of these creatures have butts. So there's kind of that. Yeah, see, this is the one I'm really having a problem with right here. There we go. Just smoothing that out a little. Oh, I see you being already bent. And I see you. See how it's that? How the tivot, the vertice. See how it vanishes? That means that this four-sided object has an arch in the middle of it. And what that means is when I export it, it's going to end up doing this. And we're going to end up with things going backwards. So I have to look at this bend here. And probably what I'm going to do is take this, go to face mode, or we'll just crash, apparently. That's what we're going to do, is crash. Wow, it locked up my MP3 player too. Like, Winamp is locked, Blender is locked. I can't get to Task Manager. You can still hear me, can't you? Which means I'm still broadcasting. That's weird. There we go. That was wild and woolly. Something's pounding the heck out of C drive. But I'm not using all of my memory. Not even using all of my GPU. That was a hard disk run. Like something was just hammering the hell out of the hard drive. I'll bet you it was Chrome. Although Chrome only has one instance open at the moment. Search indexer. Damn it. That's what it is. So, one of the things that I am discovering that is slowing my system down epically slowing my system down, is that I have a ton of pictures. I know I need an SSD. So I need 8 terabytes of SSD because it's reading from all of my drives. And it's the search indexer. What it is that I've gathered all of the photographs from my family since the 1800s. I have something in the order of 250 or 300, maybe even closer to 500 gigabytes of photographs. And they all I go through at night and I just go through and renaming phases. and I'll rename them all because I don't need to rename them all. Like, it's not like I go through and rename them. And well, that's what I'm saying. An 8 terabyte SSD is like $400. I don't have $400. I'm an artist. So we do what we can. But I'm just going to triangulate you. There we go. See how that fixed? No, it didn't fix it. It's like stupid crap that you do. Well, and that's the mission statement. That's what we're working on. So there's anyway, the long and the short of this has been that part of the problem is that they're all on the OneDrive. So they're already in the cloud. But the OneDrive has like one control that you can do. You can either turn it off or you can turn it on. And so Microsoft is completely in control of how much of that 500 gigabytes of photographs is actually stored on my C drive for fast swapping back and forth. And I can't get enough resolution to say, hey, leave everything from 1950 prior alone because I don't need it. And so when I'll go in and I'll pull up a picture of my great grandfather or whatever for some purpose, it then immediately goes and pulls all of that year and throws it on my hard drive and then has to index all of it. And so if I start pulling different pictures from different locations, then it puts all of it on my hard drive, and then Windows has to index everything so I can search fast. And so my entire machine slows down as soon as I do a genealogy project, which I did 2 days ago. Anytime I do a genealogy project, I pull a lot of different dispersion photos from all over the place and put them together. And so for whatever reason, I'm working on them. And that's what's occurring. That's what's happening here, is that it'll grab all of them, all of the pictures from there, and then it has to. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll be there. We can discuss it. Like the best way to deal with this, because honestly, it's not going to stop. It's just going to get worse. I mean, you behind me, you can kind of see I have boxes under here that are full of photographs. There are other things like my grandmother, which was fascinating. My grandmother saved every letter that my dad sent back from the army while he was stationed overseas. She saved them all, every single one of them. Well, I want to keep all of that. My dad, of course, being a goofball, hand typed the whole thing. So they're not handwritten, they're hand typed, which is exactly how my dad does things. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is maybe by Hexacon I'll have some disposable cash that we can use, because this is getting frustrating. This is getting really frustrating. Yes, I need an SSD, but what I really need to put on the SSD is just my essential programs, at which time we'd still be in the same problem here, because it'd move the OneDrive out to D drive, which is my 6 terabyte still platter drive. And then it would sit there all the time, just swapping to D drive all the time and freaking out and locking the system up while it decides all of the pictures from 1940 and where they all need to go. So I mean, we've got to figure something out. The biggest thing I'm worried the most about is losing all of this information. A hard drive crash would be devastating now, because there's no going back and getting the things from my dad again, or for that matter, my great aunt who just passed away. There's no getting that information again. So it's, That information's gone, gone, gone if I lose it. So it's very, very critical that we keep all this stuff as salient as we possibly can. And I mean, that's not even to mention, all of the comics that I've written and all the things I've done. We're not even talking about, my comics, my artwork, all of that stuff. That needs to be kept to some degree, somewhere, somehow, with some pizza. Okay. I think I'm just going to build a back wall. It's just solid. We still haven't decided whether we're going to bring back down a little bit or not. The other thing is visibility. You're at this chair right here. Are you going to be visible forward, not visible? What's the story? So I think what I will do is postpone that discussion and build something else real quick. So we will build a cube, which is huge. And let's start thinking about a multi-person, multi-unit setup for a chair. The types of races that we have, the Jessene aren't a problem because the Jessene don't actually live in the ship. They're small and tiny, but they project themselves holographically around the ship. So the Jessene live in a tank, which is at super high pressures to mimic their world that they live on. So they just appear on the bridge and float around. And so they're not a problem. The three-legged rock people are a problem. So what we need to do is build a chair that folds down so the three-legged rock people can climb up onto the chair and then lay down on their belly so that they can control the consoles and stuff like that and do things. So probably what we will have is a chair that has a back that's slanted. Let's think this up, because it'll be in two pieces so it can fold down. Right? So the first thing we want to do is talk about the base. All about the base. About the base. Right? So I'm going to make the base kind of go like this. And put that up there like so. And by the way, I appreciate you wanting to help me on this. I really do. It's like very frustrating to me. The computer aspects of things are getting frustrating because it's almost like not you. It's almost like in order for me to do stuff, I just have to be rich. It's like, man. Although we're getting to the point where two 256 gigabyte flash drives, and then just put it over there in a box and retrieve it whenever we need. But then, of course, one good electromagnetic surge and that's it. It's gone, Maybe not as cool. Right. Oh, that's so true. You are so right, Ghost Hand. Cannot understate how right you are. Well, and that's all because of data mining on Bitcoins. And that's such a weird thing. Because we've been talking about this in the art group, the art collective. We've been talking about NFTs and things like that. Some artists are making an awful lot of money in NFTs by selling artwork, which is like the dream. Yeah, I do. We don't have a picture of it though. Not available. I've been sketching them elsewhere. So let's do that real quick. Let's talk about our races, right? And let's make some images, because I mean, one of the things that, yeah, I could see, well, and that's the problem, is like part of me, well, yes, I mean, but part of me is really intrigued and interested by the concept and the idea of getting into NFTs, because that would be cool. But then part of me is like, but you know, the computer geek part of me is just duly offended by how much of that becomes sort of becomes part of the culture of wastefulness and stuff, right? You've said that before. It's not bad. It's not a bad idea to just say PC. There we go. And so these guys would have a, sort of a rump, so to speak, that's right here. Lay on their tummy. But we have to also kind of come up with, what are its sensory organs. Let's work on this a little bit here. There we go. So, see you in a sec. Whatever it is, everything is going to be tri-doodled. So, three-lobed. Right. So whatever it is, there's 3 lobes to it. So this is like a starfish in that instance, right? So any kind of, I think what we'd have is sort of like a generic optical sensor net like this, which can see things below it. Probably has a problem seeing things above, right? If we do that, it'd look nice and happy all the time. Right? It's interesting how that works, huh? Because that just looks menacing. But this looks happy. Fourth dimensional beings would be interesting, wouldn't they? Hmm. Would these guys opt to stand up just to make it easy for everybody? I mean, like, not necessarily stand up. I mean, like, I think they would have enough strength. Maybe. I mean, they might. Hmm. Oh yeah. I I actually was seriously contemplating saying that this alien race wears little goggles so that they can have cutesy little eyes, otherwise they look just mean and menacing. Yeah, I was seriously contemplating that. Like, or they just draw the little eyes on themselves. So it's like their makeup. Except that that would be an interesting concession, but kind of counter to the world that I'm trying to build. Right? Because I mean, I think that in the world we just accept it. You're an alien that has a different face. So no, you don't need to worry about it, dude. Totally fine. Right? I think that we would probably decide that one unit of this guy is clearly uh, clearly the front, and we'd probably put little uniforms on him, like so. With his unit patch, and give him some control striping so that you can find him in space, which is what the red stripes do. Well, that's sort of what I'm looking at here is like, yeah, because I think that would be, here's what this guy looks like. Here's his unit patch. He's in uniform here. But I also think that for other creatures, yeah, because I like this design. This design looks good to me. They just practice standing up on one leg so that they can gesticulate wildly. But in order for them to move, they have to get back down on three legs to run, you know. However, I would not assume that these guys run only this way. I would assume that when you look at them, they might skitter this way or skitter this way or go this way or just kind of wander around. I would assume that they weren't moving in a specific direction all the time. I don't think they'd favor it. But yeah, I think that they wouldn't do this for us. What I do think though is that you'd see the uniform sort of like so. Because the uniform would be then different colors for different creatures. Right. I also think that they would probably paint their shells with the uniform. Whereas we wear the uniforms, these guys are silicon carapace. So I think that they would use a paint and they would paint their shells, and it'd be part of the culture to paint their shells. So you'd end up with carapaces that were painted. And then I also think that it'd be interesting if, looking in ultraviolet, all the uniforms are all different, like they have a different code. So that, or creatures that see in ultraviolet, like the codes are different on their uniforms. That'd be kind of cool. And the more I think about that, the more I like that. So, like, these guys effectively go into a shower, so to speak, and the shower just paints their shells because that's probably what they did as a culture, is learn to coat themselves in different coats of things so that they don't have to yeah, actually, that I like that a whole lot. If you were to, yeah, they paint themselves. Oh, that's cool. We'll draw a little picture down here where really down here we'll have one little dude. Like so. There we go. So he's like getting sprayed. Like that. Of these guys. Which I have to go look through my control booklets to figure out which ones, what they're called, and why, and who are they, and what's the problem, and people. Because I've forgotten their names. But I have a control document. Actually, you know what I want to do is something like this, because I need to indicate that there's two little bumps and then a little bump at the back. So, okay. Into Bellatrix Rising. Let's go to world building. Creature design. Chakrana. That's what they're called. Let's open with clip. Okay. Okay. So there was this really cool world building sort of book. So you guys have I've come up with the idea that this is great. Chakrana. The Chakrana. Right, moon-like. So I haven't decided where the planet is that they're from, because it's nowhere near Bellatrix Rising. Pure energy. It's a koala. Why is it looking at me? Okay. You know what? I gotta say, Lower Decks has given me a wealth of funny one-liners that I can now finally say out of Star Trek, which I never had before. The thing about Lower Decks that I am just enjoying the heck out of is now there are Star Trek memes, and it just makes me amazingly happy. Okay, so this is the Chakrana. I like this illustration that we've got kind of going on here. So we're going to redraw it, but smaller. So they've got these horns over each foot, and then their foot joints, their leg joints allow for. Hey guys, you're here watching me create a new race. Because I've always seen these guys in my head, but I haven't had the opportunity to write all of it down yet. So here we are putting in all of the logic behind it. I like them having sort of a claw effect like this, so that they can use this back claw to open things or whatever, even though they have fingers. Maybe they walk on sort of like this, so the fingers push backwards. And they use this back thumb as like support. So effectively walking like this, right? With the thumb backward and these two forward, like this, curled around. No, stop using the. You can't use. You can't use that. You have to use white. So, same thing over here. Right. We'll use this back. And these are all 3 opposable. So whereas we only have 1 opposable, they have 3 opposables, which is very useful for grabbing things forward or grabbing things backward or whatever. You want scritches? You want scritches, George. George wants scritches. Want to come up and visit? Is this a George break? It's a George break. He likes the George break. He's like, it's a George break. I get to sit up here and be George for a minute. See, they're saying hi to you, George. They're saying hi to you. You're a floof. Just a big floofy cat. That's what you are. You're a big floofy cat of doom. You're comfy. Kind of comfy to lay right here and just kind of be, yeah, you're a comfy cat. Good cat. Good old George. Good old bad old George. So there's not a belly, I would say, but like this back joint here, which of course for the chakrana, not a back joint at all. But one thing I think they will do is, in order to sort of make people feel good and not make them feel weird, they'll sit on that back arm. They'll just let the back arm kind of flop down and they'll sit on it so that they can lift the front part of their body up, right? And then they've got their, if you will, face, but this is a very different kind of right. And I think I almost, oh man, I almost feel like there should be mobility here, like some kind of plate mobility. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I mean, really, the truth is, we make an assumption that nobody can emote or understand without actual face. And I actually want to make a point, a postulate. I postulate in my story, and I'm going to see if I can't prove it. I postulate you don't need a face. That we can make the creatures of this story viable without a face. Let's see if we can't prove that, huh? Cork. Maybe like so. Nope. Missed the click. There we go. So this is my, let's see what we can do. Let's see if something that looks like this, that makes no emotional anything, can be viewed as heroic and viewed as villainous and, all of the things in a story. Now I'm actually kind of curious. I want to do it. So this is a chakrana. We're going to talk about the idea of the carapace being shaped like so. It would be nice if it was symmetrical, guy. Be symmetrical, guy. There we go. There. Anything that's on the top would have to be also symmetrical, right? So if it had sort of a tortoise shell-esque back on it, it'd be symmetrical. Right, so hi. They're looking down on our guy, right? His fingers turned backwards so he can stand. And this back leg trailing. Like so that he can sit, right? This is him sitting. I also will, I'm of course naturally using him, but I would assume these guys are somewhat asexual in some semblance of there we go. So that's a top view. We'll go for yeah, him being a generic term.
It's time to take a quick break.
Wow, we're already at break time. Yeah, but this is fun. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take care of yourself, guy. Okay. He's like a lemon from the side, though. Like, totally a lemon. That's what he's doing. Save. Okay, everybody. You know how this goes. Time for us to stand over here, scratch a cat, and stretch. Oh, yeah. George is sitting on my stool right here, waiting to be scritched. But he's also giving me like the weirdest looks, like, what is your problem? You are so weird. Yeah, you're a floof. Yeah, you can leave. Oh boy. George is a critter. Alrighty. There we go. One of the other things that this guy can do, because we just talked about this, was stand up. Which would be one of the more intimidating things this guy could do. Because we have sort of these forearms that are sort of in here, which look huge, right? I'm just putting these toes splayed out. To give them stability, right? But, you know, like I think about Chakrana Marines or something, you know, you want them to look intimidating. May have put this not quite in the right spot because these guys have to be equidistant. So let's make it equidistant. The most frustrating thing for me for doing all of this is how difficult it is for me to make legitimately alien aliens. I mean, this is probably, see you later. This is probably the more difficult thing for me because I feel like, you know, aliens should be incomprehensible. Right? So I have oft felt that they should be completely incomprehensible, like you can't understand them. But even with that, I make the Jacine look like jellyfish and I can't even stop that. And I make the chakrana really starfish. So, I mean, all I'm, and then of course the Najor are just amoebas, which it's not even really a new concept. They had those in Star Frontiers, which is a game I played a long time ago and stuff. So it's, even then it's, it's hard. And I don't mean to make them, the same or whatever. It's hard not to. Okay. The chakrana. We've now created the chakrana. I'm going to save this page. Wonder what page 2, because we didn't put the shower in there, did we? Let's open that back up, because I like the shower. The shower was funny. I like drawing on things, apparently. Yeah. Maybe I should put it like over here or something, because it's too close to him already sitting. So, we'll save it. Okay. Weird. We don't need to keep this guy now. Do not save. Now let's open. Let's see what other questions Chakrana character sheet says. An environment the fictional being currently lives in, if different from above. Right? Well, that's not helping us a whole lot, because the being can live anywhere. It's a sentient life form. So let's take a look at all the pages here. And instead of doing that, let's just read them, right? So, does the fictional being hibernate or migrate? That's a good question. Type of shelter do they seek out or build? This looks like, now this is the page we need, this one right here, because we need to think about that. Eating, what do they eat? What eats them? These are all like good questions. Well, that seems like it could all be on the same page, right? This has got like 60 different pages of questions, and it's all one question per page. And I'm kind of like, all of these things could be on the same page. So let's do that first. Let's just get some of this stuff in the same universe on the same page. Man, because this is like, okay. Right? Because we could just take this and go copy and paste, right? And just start sticking all of these things on the same page. And then we don't need this page. I think the idea here is that you have a ton of information for each one. And I really don't feel like I need that much information. Right? What kind of shelter do they build? If you're talking about a creature that I'll put three to a page, because that gives me the ability to draw pictures, which really is what I do, and in the end is what I am notorious for. So kind of like, for example, here I am kind of talking about what kind of shelter do they seek out or build. You have sort of right, because that's the kind of buildings that you'd find Shakrana living in. I totally could write this out, but why? I'm going to draw it. It's the nature of things. So they live in vacuum. There. Right? So they build like these crystalline rock structures, which they then promptly live in. There. Just like that. I feel like they should migrate. So let's just say they migrate. Right? So they move with the sun. Across the planet. Right? There we go. Because they don't breathe. They don't respirate. Right? Because we breathe, we respirate for important Why does it keep doing that? I keep hitting save and it keeps doing save as. I'm like, it doesn't need to be save as. Right? So okay, I'm saving. I'm putting 2 of the pages out and do not need land. Okay. Because now it's asking about respiration, and I'm thinking it doesn't, right? So what it has is absorbs radiation. That's how it gets short-term energy, because all creatures need sort of a short-term energy and a long-term energy. And it can't just sit there and eat all the time, because that's not, I mean, unless it's eating regolith, there's, and it could eat regolith. I mean, that could be its food, but I think it needs to absorb a radiation to breathe, which may mean the back shell is sensitive to radiation. So, and yes, I draw everything. When you look at the back shell of this guy, right? And there. So the back shell takes the radiation in. So yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is it's going to absorb radiation in its back shell. Yes, but I think what I'm really after here is sensitive in the it senses and detects, not sensitive in the I gotta protect it sort of way. So like the shell takes radiation in and converts it a la very similar to the way that you'd have chlorophyll doing that transfer function. You know what I mean? Like it maybe I wonder if they would have sort of a silver fluid. Yes, we should have that. Some kind of like liquid mercury. That actually would be kind of cool. Like these guys are not pleasant if they die. They're, like that'd be horrible. Okay, let's do this again. We got a bunch of things that are all the same. Eating, right? Right? Mercury-esque. I mean, just like our blood, I'm sure it's not mercury. I'm sure that it is I'm sure that it is some amalgam. I do love all of these questions that it's asking. Right? Like it's asking critical questions. Right? What do they eat? I think I like the idea that they just eat regolith. Right? They just literally just kind of much the same way that goats just go along eating grass. They just go along kind of, consuming regolith. A thing, right? I mean, I kind of like the idea of could these things be any more monstrous? No, wait until you see them eat. And they, right. H3 regolith. I think that's good. That's good. because they probably really just pull out the H3, right? I'm kind of enjoying that. I'm just saying, kind of enjoying having fun here. Let's world build a little bit on how these guys live. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. They. In fact, they probably could also pick up from their side gills, so to speak. Right? There's no reason they should only monstrously eat from the front of their bodies. Little tentacles coming out all over the place, and just like picking up everything. Yeah. Just kind of crawling along and just like mowing. I like the noise that it's making. I'm in my head, it's making this noise, even though it lives in pure vacuum. I don't even bother to write here. I'm just put a picture. Space whales. I'll have something better later. But the entire system should be full of critters. Okay. Every time I hit save now, it's doing save as. So it can ask me, are you sure you want to replace it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Right? It's important. Well, I also kind of like the idea that the creatures that eat the sentient creatures are not, in fact, sentient. So I kind of like the idea that the Shakrana are not the highest creatures on the food chain. In fact, could be that they're spacefaring simply because they wanted to ultimately just get away from the killer whale things, right? I mean, let's go to a different star system completely because the killer whale things are killing us. I think that one was already answered. However, I'm going to probably use this as a template for future races because it is 25 pages long for detailing out these creatures, and it doesn't need to be. Oh, that's an important one. Because I'm putting 3 on a page. Right? We don't even know what that creature is. I do love the fact that it's like, and then it looks at you. All the little eyes look at you. Did I disrupt your hiding place? I think I've disrupted you. Oh, we're attacking our tail. Okay, well, there's that. I feel kind of like these last 2 are just 9. So 10 can merge to 9, but that's about it. Because I think I accidentally tried to drag it to family pictures. That's the directory that's constantly being dealt with and indexed. No, it's not. Okay, so there's 2 different creatures that it's referencing there. It's either a Gormengander, which is what they were kind of talking about at one point. Did you move it? Or did you not move it? Could either be a Gormengander that they're referencing, or it could be the creature that was in the Next Generation episode, which clamped onto the back of the Enterprise, right? So could be either one of those that it's referencing. Yeah, I figured you would do that. Okay. 10 can go there. So it isn't actually either one of those creatures, so they've added a new creature to the Star Trek universe to stick it on the nacelle of the Cerritos. Because it's nothing that we've ever seen before, but that doesn't mean that it's not a reference to something. Sometimes they make oblique references to a thing that we've seen in Star Trek, but it's an oblique reference. So okay. Okay, how do they find and catch food? So something's crunching data again. Yeah, C drive's all hammered again. And it's all because I made the mistake of attempting or accidentally moving it into my family directory drive. Okay, C drive's calming down now. So maybe I can get control back of my computer. All right. So that's what's happening every time. So I think what's going to happen is, regardless, I think I'm going to have to get a SSD. But if I yeah, they need an episode to reference it. So their little ears can sense gas, different types of gases. So they smell out the regolith that they like. You have to go eat somewhere else. Otherwise, it's Zoidberg. But I also feel like it's probably somewhat efficient, right? They're sucking it in one mouth, processing it, and spinning out the processed regolith out the other side. The problem is, what's the cycle, right? Because there's no, I mean, if they're just processing H3 all the time, what's creating H3? He3. It's going to be He3. It's helium-3. Yeah, but I was just thinking they're processing it and then putting it out stripped of He3, right? So they're putting out rocks that have nothing in them. So if one chakrana was going along eating and another chakrana was trying to eat behind them, there would be nothing there. So, right, that's a waste question. What happens to the waste? How do you re-imbibe it into being He3? So yep, anatomy class. Time for our anatomy class, guys. Like, and I think what we would have is this is the brain right in the center core, right? And this is the shell or lungs, if we were so inclined. And these are ears or nose, depending on which way you would think about it. And then this is a gullet, and this is a gullet. And this is a stomach. And then in here would be reproduction. Which we'll have to think about at some point here. Right? We're going to have to think about how it reproduces. But I feel like this is kind of like a ring of some sort going around the stomach. But yeah, that's There's a word for it. I'm going to have to look it up real quick. Hang on. It's not what we're looking for. So that's a blastopore, right? I think. Because there are creatures out there that have anuses and mouths that are the same as this, right? Bilaterian. Deuterostome. There we go. That's what I think we're looking for. So this is called a blastopore. Because it's both a butt and a mouth, which I'm sure will be hysterical somewhere along the line. Somebody's going to have to make a joke. The waste is oxygen. That's not bad. The waste is rock and oxygen. So they put out a solid rock as sort of like a that's not bad. I like that. There. I think we've done. I'm going to have to kill my cat. Hang on. What are you doing? Wait. You want me to help you? Here. There. Now you put your tail over here. So you can get all comfortable. Oh man. Yay. And then we have to sort of build the structure unit here, because there's always the leg that comes out this way there on either side of the gullet there, but the gullets are on either side of the leg back here. There you go. You can have it. Thanks. You mean the waste being oxygen? It's going to fart oxygen. You know that, right? So how do we get helium-3 to oxygen? I guess it's not that hard, is it? But I also feel like this is a direct process. There's no intestinal tract. So it's a direct process. So they will eat. And when they do, they're immediately eating. And then you're just seeing little rocks coming out the other blastophores. And it's probably farting oxygen. And so it, I'm sure, has. But then the next question is then where does it store that energy? Right? Because it's burning that energy. Where is it storing it? So I'm guessing that's what this stuff is through here. Like, these are energy storing membranes acting kind of like batteries. Right? And it's just in this space. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, we've come up with it is just a couple of atoms difference. We've come up with some cool stuff today. So we'll go ahead. We'll just clean this up a little. Right. I think what we would see is about 2 kilograms regolith a day. Okay. We've answered a lot of good questions here about the chakrana. Right. Right. They're definitely an exoskeleton, and I would call them cold-blooded. Because this is the way I do things. I don't know. There we go. How big are they? That big. Yeah, there's no reason to put a little part between his legs. This is why I really enjoy just doing it this way, because I answer all of my questions generally in I feel like also here is where we're going to say okay, time for the random generator, people. Randomizers. Come on, randomizers. Snow griddle. So it always defaults to wherever I was last time. Other names. Energy types. Nope. Other names. There's like an elements or molecule names. There we go. Loop rhyme. Kind of like that. Good heavens. Coner hawks. Belgichlon? Yeah. I kind of like loop rhyme. There we go. Loop rhyme, huh? I love my random name generator things. They crack me up. See, it's doing a lot of save as, so that you have to always ask. It always goes, you sure you want to replace page 9? Yes, I want. In fact, we're going to hit save on page 10 or page 11, I guess. Okay. Now we have a bunch of other pages here, it looks like. How they move. including genitals. How do they manipulate things in the environment? Okay, so these are all sort of important. There we go. So we can get rid of 13 and 14. And what I'm doing, by the way, over here is I have a folder that I put in there. It's just like everything you can throw away. So we don't need these. But that way I can keep them just in case I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? You know, but it's not in the main folder so that I don't have to worry about it. This has been a fun day, guys. I've been enjoying this. We created an interesting life form here. What does 15 want? Right. Color and markings. I actually think this is its own page. So that's probably a good thing because we're going to have to talk about them painting themselves, how they made the ability to paint themselves, marking themselves so that they've got different kind of tribal markings and things like that, which we won't see because they will decide that the Unity military is their tribe. So their tribal markings change to the Unity tribe markings, which really is just our uniform, right? So they'll get the little marks that come up like this with the badge that says what ship they belong to, all the things that we've been seeing. And the human markings, they'll be getting those too. The Jacine are going to be a lot more difficult to figure out because they also have colored shells, depending on what they're doing. So, but their shells are different critters. So we're going to have to kind of think about how the Jacine do their uniforms. So this is a good page because we're going to need to have to do a whole page of what is a tribal marking versus what is, a Unity uniform marking. So that's all right. We'll get there. In the meantime, it is now time for the show to come to an end for the day, but we'll be back tomorrow, probably still working on alien life forms. I've been meaning to do this for a long time anyway. So this is good because we need to know who's on the bridge and what are they doing. And because it's not just going to be our captain sitting there all by herself. She's going to have a crew, and we're going to have to think about what's the percentage of the crew that are Jacine, what percentage are Shakrana, what percentage are Najor, because they all can live in the same environment. The Najor breathe CO2, which is the reason why they've got that 50-50 mix of oxygen CO2 in the environment. And it has to now that you know that you have Shakrana on board, you're going to have to adjust the mix slightly rich to CO2 even, because just having a Shakrana aboard means you're producing more oxygen because it's going to be sitting in there producing oxygen. So these are all things to think about. I hope we get into culture, and I hope it asks questions about culture. I hope, you know what, I may come back from my walk and just continue working on the Shakrana, and they may be done by the end of the day today, and I'll just go through it tomorrow in a quick brief. So anyway, thank you all for joining me today. I know that Brent was here, but he left. I hope the Ghost Hand, I hope you're still here. If you aren't, that's also okay. I will see you tomorrow, and you can join me for Jacine or Shakrana, and we'll see what happens. Okay, until then, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday, and as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye. Computer, good night.